And in today's episode, we're working on this Nissan 350Z. A lot of you guys know that I'm a huge fan of the ZED cars. You know, I love my black car, and I also love this car. It's a pretty cool car. It's 2006 Nissan 350Z. Nissan, however you want to say it, 350Z, 350Z. In Canada, it's ZED. In the United States of America, it's Z. So in Canada, I would call this a 2006 Nissan 350Z. ZED. Pretty awesome car, actually. I really like the color. It's beautiful. It's like that burnt orange color. It's convertible, which is even cooler to me anyways. We're going to be replacing this radio today, boys. Alright, so let me show you guys the spread here. So we got a Pioneer AVH 1330 NEX, Apple CarPlay, all that fun stuff. The dash kit, which is a Metropiece, a 99-7602. And then there's two separate harnesses. I wanted to kind of touch base on this for this particular vehicle. Most of these ZED cars have the Bose audio system in them. And when you go on Metro, it will recommend that you use this harness, which is a 70-7551. And it does work. There's nothing particularly wrong with that. However, you have to keep in mind that unless your radio has something like a 6 or 7 or 8 volt pre-out, it's not going to sound quite the same as it did with the factory radio, because the aftermarket pre-outs don't give the factory amplifier, the factory Bose amplifier, enough juice basically to produce the same type of quality of sound. So what I like to do is I like to use the standard harness and use high level output from the deck into the factory amplifier, so that way you get the same sound quality as you get with the Bose audio retention harness. Something to keep in mind though is that the high level pre-outs does give quite a bit of voltage, so if you're going to get trigger happy with the volume knob on this sucker here, you may cause some damage to the amplifier if you're not careful, but if you guys know what distorted sound sounds like, then you should know that you know, you're going to be causing some damage. So those are the two pieces. I will be using this harness, which is a 70-7550, and I won't be using this one here. We're also going to be adding steering wheel controls. The car has factory steering wheel controls on the steering wheel, so we're going to go ahead and retain all of that. And it's just, you know, volume up and down, mode, power, and seek up and down, track left and right, whichever one you call it. And then we've got this thing here, which is really nice. We like to do all these on as many cars as we can, which is just one of these cigarette lighter adapters. It replaces one of the cigarette lighter adapters with a USB and an auxiliary port, and it also has like a nice little cover that goes over top, so you can keep that up and out of the way there. And just so you don't have any cords or anything hanging out in the glove box kind of thing, right? So what do you think, bud? Oh, yeah. So we're going to go ahead and unbox this sucker here, and then Gavin's going to go ahead and wire up that wiring harness, and then I'll take you through the process on removing the factory radio out of this bad boy. We're also going to be using a Access AX Trig 1. This is a bypass trigger. All Pioneer radios require that the parking brake wire gets, you know, hooked up to the emergency brake. You can't just ground it out like you can on a JVC or a Kenwood. So you have to use one of these things here, which basically tricks the radio into thinking that the parking brake has been depressed, even though it hasn't been, because absolutely everyone wires their radio in a way that they can play with the DVD while they're driving on the road. So Pioneer, if you're listening, get with the program and let us ground out the parking brake wire as opposed to having to add an extra piece, because absolutely nobody does it that way. Alrighty, so we got the Gavin Meister wiring up the radio harness, and now I shall take you through the process of removing the radio. A fairly straightforward process. This little trim bezel here will come off, and there's going to be a ribbon cable behind here that we will remove. And once you get this thing out of the way here, there's this ribbon cable here which comes off of the back of the climate controls, and there's another connector here that comes off of the hazard button. Then there are two Phillips screws, one there and one there. Afterwards, you can pull this cover off the top, and behind this there are two screws there and there, two covers that go over top of here and here. Alrighty, so once you get those two screws removed, there's also this module here that needs to get unscrewed from this bottom plate here. There's a screw right there, and another one right there, and then there's one there, and there. And then of course these three connectors. And you're ready to pull the whole entire radio bezel off. There's a connector up there that goes to the 3 gauges there, and of course all the radio connectors. Alrighty, so we got the entire radio and housing removed from the vehicle. This is a process you want to be very careful with. The brackets for the radio are all made out of metal, and if you're not careful removing it, you will scratch the living shit out of your dash. So keep that in mind. Just be very patient and articulate when you're removing the dash panel, because you again will scratch the crap out of your dash if you're not careful. So everything's been removed. We're going to go ahead now and start pre-wiring this. We're going to be adding our Bluetooth microphone. There's a GPS antenna that needs to get added to this, and we'll go ahead and get everything situated. Also, that cigarette lighter adapter, I'm not sure exactly where I will be putting this thing as of yet, but we will find out shortly. Alright, so after struggling like a complete effing idiot for about an hour or so, I had this whole center console thing apart, trying to find a place to mount this USB, and you know, all this metal behind here. I was thinking about putting it right beside the factory one, because obviously he's using this one for some kind of like weird heated seat thing he's got here. Must be for the wife, I don't know. So I thought maybe I'd put it there, but then after removing the factory woofer, which is behind the driver's seat there's all metal directly behind that plastic. There's not enough room there, not enough room there. I didn't want to drill any extra holes in this thing, obviously. So let me go grab a light here real quick. Alrighty, oh, for crying out loud. Alrighty, got the light here. Alright. So underneath it here, there happens to be a cigarette lighter adapter, so I put it there, and now I've got it coming out of the radio hole. Next up, we're going to mount the Bluetooth microphone. We got most of the wiring harness done there. Oh, there's Papa Sandu. And we're going to go ahead and just get the radio harness wired up along with the steering wheel controls first. We'll test the radio, make sure all that's working, because I don't have to pull the radio in and out of this thing 15 times as to not scratch the living piss out of the dash. And then we will mount the radio back into the factory bezel and put it all back together. So I guess we'll get the Bluetooth mic mounted and go from there. Alrighty, so we got all the wiring done here. I kind of skipped past that, guys, because it was quite the involved process, but just one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is to make sure that all of the wiring is very, very organized behind the dash there, because there is next to zero room when you're trying to reinstall that radio back into the housing. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the radio out of the package right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and test it with the steering wheel controls, mount the Bluetooth mic, and then mount the radio inside the housing. Alrighty boys, so we got the radio installed inside the dash. Not quite installed yet, but I just wanted to show you here because like there is absolutely no room behind this dash, but as you can see everything's nicely organized on the radio so that when I do put the radio into the bezel and I want to get it in the hole, I know it's going to fit. We got our steering wheel controls working here. Alrighty, and our track up and down. We're finding radio stations left, right, and center.
Goes through the world having to always maybe be noticed because of they use a wheel.
Alright, so next is the Bluetooth mic and then mounting this radio inside that bezel. Alright guys, so as you can see, the deck's inside of the car now, and it looks fantastic. I know I bypassed a couple of little details there for you. We got Craig here in the background working away on the AZ1. It's almost ready to go as well. So anyhow guys, I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff. I appreciate the ads on Fortnite as well. That was pretty awesome. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed the installation video of this thing. Like I said, I know I bypassed a couple of small little details there, but now you can see it. Have a great day, guys. Take care.